Yo, 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 welcome back to the Hustlepreneur Network with a program where we're designed to show all the entrepreneurs, all the hustlers that combined forces with each other, how to hustle and entrepreneur throughout their daily life, how to create a business for themselves, and when they got that business, how to create different hustles with that business or with other businesses. What we're here to do is try to enlighten old and young. I mean, I know initially we thought that young people were the only ones that needed it, but trust me, a lot of older people need it as well. All we're here to do is lay groundwork, basics. We're not trying to tell you how to get a million. If you want to get a million, that's fine, but we want to make sure we lay basics to get you to the next level of freedom, entrepreneurship, and learn how to hustle the legal, correct way. So with that being said, got our next guest up here. We'll let him introduce himself, give him 2 seconds to tell him where he come from and his background, and we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, what's going on? My name is Rod, Mr. Three's Crab Pot, RB Investment Group, Tycoon Life.
Hello.
All that.
Hello.
Owner of Mr. Three's Crab Pot and top freaking RB Investment Group. And
Let me stop you right there, right? So, Mr. Three's Crab Pot. Where did that name come from?
name came from my son. He's the third. So named it after him. He used to walk around the house with a pot on his head. Like when he was probably 2-3 years old, he used to walk around with a pot on his head. So he used to be able to eat crabs. He's allergic now. But as time grew, a couple of years, started coming up with different ideas. And
It's dope.
when I thought to name the restaurant, I was like, oh, I thought about it because my father used to call him Mr. Three all the time. So then that's where the name came from, Mr. Three, Mr. Three's Crab Pot.
So, all right, we're gonna get back into that later. All right, we got your name, but now who are you? If somebody was to have to describe you, who are you? And let's just stay in less than 5 words. Just give us 5 words of who are you. It don't have to be a 5-word sentence, but just say, this is what represents my character. And there's a reason why I'm asking that.
Yeah.
Or what you think people would say about yourself.
I don't really know what people say. I mean, I just pretty much I come up with ideas and then I try to go execute
them. Perfect.
anything that comes my way.
That's perfect, because what I'm saying is, as far as entrepreneurs that hustle, the reason I came up with the brand Hustlepreneur is based on I've run into so many people, daggone, almost everybody I talk to has this ability to be a hustlepreneur, which means you just hustling every day on top of your entrepreneurship. So when you say what you say, I think of an idea, I come through it, that's part of the entrepreneurship, grinding it and doing more than one, because if I'm not mistaken, I have more than one restaurant, more than one property. These are things, you guys, doing really big things. That's the hustling part of what we're talking about right here. So just getting straight into it, I want to ask, what did you do, prior to being an entrepreneur, if it's okay to say on camera, and if it ain't, then just make sure you can curve it so that we can be okay with it.
Oh, no, I mean, before, I was full-time entrepreneur, I was working. I tell everybody, work until it works for you. Because I was working, I worked at different jobs. When I was young, I used to work in freaking auto body shops, freaking call centers. I worked everywhere, but I always put in work after work.
So that's the hustle part right there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: you saying you always work? Was that based on what was taught in the house? Was that based on you just needed the bread? Was that based on work was the only thing you knew in your neighborhood? And I'm gonna tell you why. One of the biggest parts of this podcast is for me to share different backgrounds of how people became the entrepreneur or the hustler that they are. For me personally, my background has not been work. So when people ask me what I've been doing all my life, I've always been trying to get it how I live my entire life. That it ain't my work expert. I'm 40 years old. I probably worked an entirety of 5 years, and that's from 16 up in there, and that's 6-month jobs here and there and out of there. I was always on it to where this shit wasn't for me. I always in my mind thought that's how everybody thought. As I got older, I realized that is not the truth. So now I want to explore people's background to figure out what changed from what they went, from what they seen, from what their household offered, to when they became a teenager, to when they became a grown adult. What was the actual step that said, oh, okay, this is why I worked early and then this is why I changed. So with that being said, what was the reasoning why you work? Because, you know, being young black, there's a lot of wrong options we can take. There's a lot of right options we can take. We don't really have the inherited option most of the time, which is what I'm hoping that these podcasts show we can break generational curses and leave your kids some stuff that they don't have to do what you felt that you had to do. They'll do what they want to do or what you showed them to do to make it better. What made you work?
I mean, I work because, like, I always think situations through. Like, I think about, all right, you do this and that. Shoot, you're going to end up in prison, and then I have to kill somebody the first night.
Right. Right, just stay right. Absolutely, absolutely.
Like, yo, I can either do that or freaking go work, and then if I need to make more money, shoot, go work, come up with something else outside of work that you could do once you get off of work, and then make more money.
So because everybody doesn't use that tactic of working. Yeah. Let's be clear. What you're saying is, oh, okay, I'll go to work, and if that wasn't enough money, I'd go to more work. I'd figure out more work. That is a mentality set right there. That's not me and you both know people that get up to go to work and come right back home. Yeah. The mentality is not, I need more money. The mentality is, I get less things. Yeah. What made your mentality say more money when I'm working?
I mean, basically, like, stuff I wanted to get. I mean, I had a list of stuff I wanted to get. Like, my mother, she used to tell me, like, oh, if you want to eat the way you want to eat, you got to get a certain amount of money. Because I like to eat, like,
I got
eat chicken parmesan and all that shit.
Right.
When I was younger. Like, I used to, like, go get that stuff and eat that type of stuff when I was younger. So she's like, yeah, when you get older and you want to eat the way you want to eat, then you got to make a certain kind of money and do certain kind of things. Even when I, like, go work a job, she'll tell me, like, oh, do you want to work there forever, just what you want to do? Like, and then you start thinking about it, like, all right, so then you got to go find someplace else to elevate.
Do you remember your first job?
My first job, I worked at Wendy's for like a couple of weeks.
My first job was Captain D's.
Yeah.
And I didn't make a long day either. What? Do you remember the age?
Sure, I was like probably like 16. My uncle got me a job.
So you didn't even work until 16?
Yeah.
Okay. What now? Did you did you stay in school? Did you drop out? Did you
I stayed in
school graduated? Did you go to college?
Nah, I didn't go to college.
Okay. So right after high school, it was straight work at that point?
Yeah.
How did that work?
Yeah, after high school, like, I would try to freaking I was working different places. It was just up there. Like, I was up in New York, so. So
here's what I'm trying to get you in the mind frame. 18, graduated high school. I don't know your financial situation at that point, yeah. But if you were not already rich at that point, what was the mentality of saying, I want to get to another level, whether that be get out mom's house, whether that be get my own place, whether it be get a different car? What was the thought process that tracked you to say, all right, yo, I got to do this to at least try to get to this? What put you in that space right there?
Back then?
Yeah, back then.
Back then I was like 18 or 17 and stuff. So like I said, I was in New York and everything, and I see like all different stuff going on. I'm gonna be real, like I listen to music. Mm-hmm. Like I was listening to music, so I knew what and what not to do. I
Absolutely.
took out of that, and you learn what and what not to do. Seeing a lot of that, and then you see situations, people around you, so you're like, oh, I ain't trying to do that. So
absolutely.
You learn from everything around you. That's people don't learn from shit around them.
So the 18-year-old, the job, your first, that wasn't considered, the first job you felt proud of was what?
Damn. I don't even know.
What was that first, well, let's say job that you felt proud of, but what job gave you the biggest check initially, early on for you that made you like, all right, yo, I'm good with this. I like how they paying me. Or was there a job? Or was there anything that you ever felt satisfied when you was working?
I just worked. I didn't really like, because like a lot of people look at like, oh, I don't get paid enough or whatever. I just worked and then what I had to do. And then if I figured I had to do something else outside of it, like when I worked at the call center, I went and opened up like a studio so I could make money on my own then. Like every time I worked the job, I would take the money and do something else with it instead of just being
super dope.
Hours, I'm going home.
Right, super dope. That, what I'm bringing out of you is the entrepreneurship plus the hustle plus the reason why we even started this, because typically when you get to being there's a difference between a hustler, there's a difference between an entrepreneur. The merge of the two is somebody that thinks totally different. And that, again, I'm saying, I personally thought back in the day that it was a one-track pony, that it was only one person that thought like this. That's just how my mind thought. as I became growing older, running into different circles, running into people who think like me but have no similar, I mean, some similar background, but not necessarily. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not even saying that in the one is like theirs is better than mine or mine is better than theirs. I'm saying it in the fact that like I was blown away to see that we come from totally different backgrounds, and it's this we at the same top of thought, train of thought.
Yeah.
So listening to what you're saying was like, oh, okay. Even as far as back as I can remember, when I got a job, I took that money and flipped it. That is the part of the hustling that I'm explaining when I explain the word hustlepreneur. People think hustlepreneur only means hustling, selling drugs. That ain't true. I'm trying to just do away with that narrative because that's not true. First of all, I mean, you know, you got young kids, but if you still over 45 and you're not like just ghost from power, like you just kind of, you know, you just really are just a drug dealer. You're not really hustling anymore. You have not spread your wings out. You have not done anything to get you to another space of saying, I don't, like you just said, like I don't want to look over my back. I don't want to be nervous about what's going on. So listening to your story, I'm bigging you up based on, that was part of my story as well. Working, but I never really was into working until I had to keep doing something else. But I would work to get enough money to say, I'm gonna go do this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be comfortable when I leave the job. I'm not gonna leave the job and be broke again. Again, that's mentality, that's mind state, things that you was doing. When did you realize that you had to be both? Like when did it dawn on you that in order for me to be, and I'm not longer just talking about working jobs, I'm talking about creating that space of saying, for me, I gotta do this my way and only my way, and I gotta use what I've already been using since I'm a kid to do this. When did that kind of dawn on you and hit you?
What you mean by like both? Like
The hustle and the entrepreneur spirit. Like when did it? And I'm talking about as far as taking away from the work aspect. No, man, we now working for ourselves. I'm talking about in a space where you said, all right, the job is not feeding me for whatever reason. Their job might have did nothing wrong. It just may not have been providing what you wanted to provide at the point.
I mean, really, like I stopped working because my schedule. I tell people all the time. Because people back at the job, when I was working at Homeland Security, they'd be like, oh, I gotta get out, this job is terrible and everything. I'd be looking at them like, yo, you get freaking government benefits, you get the freaking, you walk in the bank, get any loan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not the job, it's you.
It's you.
Like, if your credit ain't right, that's your fault. The job ain't messing up your credit.
Right.
Like, I was at the job and I'd be like, I'd go to the bank and be like, oh, I want to get a loan for this, this and that. And they'd be like, oh, it was easier then. You'd be like, all right, here's your pay stub, here's your W-2.
Absolutely.
I tell them all the time, like, it's you. It's like when I was at the job, I'm buying these houses and everything while I'm at the job.
Right.
And it's easier. So
you got the proof of income.
Yeah, it's like when I started work, when I opened up the restaurant, that was when it was like
you can't
I had
do
to
both.
come here and then go there because it's more of like you got people under you.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and what I preach, I'm glad you keep leading me to all the good points. Because what I preach about the hustlepreneurship is not necessarily the financial number, because some people are happy at different financial levels. Some people don't need $2 zillion. Some people don't need $200,000. Some people don't even care about $2,000. Their freedom is what they care about.
Yeah.
So that is what I preach. It's about the freedom to say, okay, I have time to get up and go do this with my kids. I have time to get up and go do this with my family. Somebody can't tell me I can't take off work to go to the doctor today because I'm feeling this kind of way. Yeah. The freedom aspect of the hustlepreneur is bigger for me than it is the actual financial aspect, because the freedom aspect allows you to do the things that you need to do, and it gives you a mental space to continuously be creative. When you are at work, even though if it's good money, you are 8 hours into what they tell you have to be 8 hours into. You can't figure out a new marketing scheme for Mr. Threes while you're on an 8-hour clock. I mean, you can think of something, but as soon as a phone call or as soon as somebody calls you, you kind of lose train of thought. You know what I'm saying? So you're losing freedom, and you know, me and Crank, we worked together. You know, that was one of my biggest things when I did work at that job. But I was trying to buy my freedom. I wanted to buy a house. I had no work history whatsoever. So after the first 6 months, you know, my mom was a tax accountant. She was like, you know, if you work here for another year and a half, you can actually now buy a house because you've never had anything to show how to buy a house in your entire years of living. The last time you worked was 22-1, and that was for like 6 months. So you hadn't worked up from then to here. So she like, you have no way of showing if you do want to buy a house. So I was like, oh, at that point in my mind, I was sacrificing. He can tell you, I didn't want to be there. I knew I didn't want to be there. I was probably one of the top persons there making a lot of money for sure, but under a manager, probably wasn't even nobody making more money than me there. just the freedom aspect was killing me. I mean, there is no set time when you can or cannot be there if you want to make money. And as a hustler, I'm thinking, damn, I've got to be on the block all day long to make money. This is my block. People walking in here to buy. It ain't no hard flip. They coming in here to buy. Nobody come here to ask a question. You know what I'm saying? Like you walk into a dealership, most likely you coming to buy. Unless somebody said something stupid or it just was way out of the range you thought it was. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, the freedom was as soon as I got approved for Crib, they'll tell you I was gone. I mean, mind you, I had some money stacked up to leave, but I just couldn't no longer, and I was about to have a baby. I just couldn't see myself, okay, damn, 7 to almost 7, fair to say? Oh, you know, because you're talking about pre-day. You got to get up, brush your teeth, eat, you know, your mental space, you know, whatever you do prior to going to work. These are all part of days where you ain't seeing none of the family, the kids, none of all that you lose. Next thing you know, you look up, your kids is 12, 13. You never seen their first tooth loss. You never been to a play yet. There's so many things you just, based on being a human and tired, that you can't get it. So yes, the freedom is big, is what I'm harping on what you just said, was like, yo, I couldn't be at work, be with my wife, be with the kids, couldn't run the business. It's possible you could have, but somebody would have lost. Let's be clear. Yeah, I ain't telling you nothing is impossible, but it's only 24 hours a day, and if we got to at least get 6 hours of sleep, which leaves 18, somebody's gonna lose some time if you try to wear all those hats. You know what I'm saying? So that freedom, when you got that first taste of not having to go with somebody, did it change you? Or were you like, you know, I'm feel the same either way. Like, there's some people that I talked to when they first became an entrepreneur, that freedom changed their whole mentality thing, because they were so systematically institutionalized to saying 8, 9, 10, here, hop, lunch, bop, blah, blah. Were you already in a position where you felt you weren't institutionalized, or did you feel something different when you felt the more freedom?
Nah, I mean, I never be like, oh, I'm trapped here or nothing like that. Like, I used to call out of work a lot anyway. Cause I had stuff to do. Like, like if I had to go work on a house or something.
Absolutely.
I was like, shoot, I could work on this house. I could come back to work tomorrow. And then, like I said, like I ended up calling out. So that's really why I ended up leaving, because it was like, I can't keep calling out and bothering these people because I'm playing with their time.
Put their time in fun. So you would say, really, the job was more of the hustle. You was just, all right, I'm gonna get extra money from them, I'm gonna get extra money from here, I'm gonna get extra money from here, I'm gonna get extra money. Is that how you viewed it? Or did you have it in your mind, nah, I'm serious about this job, my benefits is good here, this is the, what was your mind state of a job? Like your mind state of what a job meant to you when you worked?
I mean, it was a serious job and everything. I took the job serious and everything. It was just that, like I said, at that time, like when I was able to do the houses, like I could be there and everything, but the restaurant thing is like, I was getting up in the morning, leaving from the freaking job, and then I had to go to the restaurant store and go here, get that stuff, and do the same thing over. Then if I had to work on the house, I had to go do that again. So it became like, I could pick my own schedule, all that type of stuff, but it just became like I kept calling out. So it's like, yeah, it's too much. It's like,
where did
just keep calling out there.
See, I can ask this question. When you left your job, right? You said, all right, I'm gonna do this, because here's where I'm going with this. People look at the mountain and immediately say, oh, I can climb that mountain, that's easy, right? They'll look at you and say, oh, getting a restaurant, getting that. This is what people say. You know this. You know, I'm not making this up. People will easily say, all you have to do is this. What was the process, or what would you say was the time frame to get you to a point where you felt that you were comfortable saying, I'm a little bit comfortable? Not that you actually really was, but just you could say, whoo, we made it through this amount of time, we've done this, we took these.
What you mean comfortable? Like,
comfortable meaning like, okay, I don't mean like, all right, feet kicked up. I just mean comfortable like, okay, all right, tomorrow the lights are not gonna go off, comfortable. That kind of, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, in all your establishments, tomorrow the lights are not gonna really cut off because, you know, we mismanaged funds or we didn't do certain things properly. That's what I mean by comfortable.
I mean, as far as like comfortable with stop doing stuff, I'll never be comfortable, but I mean, I ain't gonna have no lights or anything cut off unless I die.
No, okay, so what I'm saying by that is, because I'm going to the point of saying people look at you and will say that what you're doing is easy.
Yeah.
I'm saying we know it ain't easy. So I'm saying is what was the year process? Like how long have you been into it till you got to a point that it says, okay, let's just say the first because a lot of entrepreneurs, their first month, they are in risk of their life getting cut off. You know what I'm saying? Because based on if they maybe didn't stay the money, they didn't save enough money, they didn't have a nest for their money, maybe the bills got quick, or maybe if you're a truck driver, your truck crunk, crunk as immediately. Yeah. Yes. How long was that process for you? Would you think, or you would say?
I don't know. It was like it just happened. Like it happened. Like I said, I built up the business before I decided to be like, oh, I'm gonna just leave out of here. I kind of built up like even the crab pot thing. I kind of built up like a customer base. It was like the first one in, so built it up and everything. Had people coming all the time, and it demanded more. So it was at that point.
How long have y'all had the restaurants?
It's about 6 years now.
6 years. And how long have you had your properties?
Shoot, over 10 years.
Over 10 years. So, listeners, if you're hearing, one thing I want to be clear, because I used to be super big on just entrepreneur. And as I've grown old, I've ran into so many people that have showed me it is not just entrepreneur. Sometimes you got to ride that other boat to get to the ship. And you can keep both of them once you get there. Yeah. And one thing I'm listening to your story for sure, your story won't be the same as somebody else's story. It'll be, everybody's story is different. There's a lot of similarities in entrepreneurs, but a lot of them have different stories. You know what I'm saying? So one thing the repetitive part of your story, which is dope, is the fact that somehow or another you were already instilled as a kid. You had an older homie, an OG, something that said, I gotta have a base before I do anything. That is very important for anybody that's up and coming hustlepreneur. I try to kick it with my little brothers and cousins. Never let the left know what the right pocket is doing. If you broke on the right pocket, cool. Make sure left is stay okay till you can get the right pocket back up. What I just heard him say multiple times was, yo, I was here doing this, getting this right. So one is funding the other. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times in the businesses that you were doing, and now, how many properties you got?
Over 20, 30 something.
Over 20, 30 properties, over 10 years of doing it, over 6 restaurants, you said?
Restaurants.
No, 6 years in the business, 3 restaurants.
3 restaurants.
And your age?
I just turned 40.
There it is. So mind you, he's been doing it since 30. So this is
Actually 20 something.
Since 20 something. He's been a hustlepreneur it seems for a long time, and almost the entire working part of his life. But just to show that at 30, man said, I didn't do no drugs. I didn't do nothing crazy because it didn't make no sense to me. I worked a job. I had multiple jobs. I took those jobs and created other businesses. I got rental properties. I took rental properties and bought restaurants. Do this all with a family. This part of the understanding is to let people know that you do not have to be a one-trick pony. I've heard him say several different businesses, as I have done several different businesses to get to where he's at. And probably in his mind, it's probably more. Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit when you use your mind in that way.
Lord, I did custom sneakers too. I used to do Super Fresh Saturdays.
Sundays.
I used to bring a mascot out there.
I remember that. I remember the head. Absolutely. So that part of the hustle is where you can always get back. Nobody not gonna say you ain't gonna fall off. That is a fact. I mean, humans are like stock trends. We up, bam, we can fall down. It happens, man. But when you hustling all day long, you started realizing, oh, okay, when I go back to this hustle, I don't have to start from A like most people would. I fell off at P. So I'm gonna start back at P and run this thing back up to Z. I don't have to start all the way back. That is part of being a hustler. That's part of making sure that you have multiple ways to feed the family, multiple ways to flip things. If you go down, you use your credit to do certain things the right way. You use your cash, you use your leverage, you use all kind of liabilities. With that being said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's what we just led up to. Where do you see yourself, the business, the family, separate, all 3 separate? Where do you see yourself, the business, and you with a family, with your family?
I mean, pretty much growing. 5 years, I grow the business a little bit more. I got to check.
When you say growing the business a little more, are you saying more real estate? Are you saying more restaurants? What do you? Yeah, and I'm saying that because archives, like now we're in a digital era, we're in a film era. These things are gonna be around forever. I was telling my homeboy the other day, I wrote a book, but I wrote a book based on buying a book that was wrote in 1992. And in my mind, I'm like, damn, they still getting money. Nigga, he wrote this in 1992. It's 2021. Somebody's still getting the residuals of this book. Whether it's his family, somebody is still getting the residuals of this book 20-something years later. So I'm like, oh, okay, that was made me write a book. 'Cause I'm like, oh, okay, that's a way for somebody to still get money 50 years later. I mean, this book that's over 100 years old, people are still buying. Somebody's still getting residuals from this money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I'm saying that to say that if we stumbled across, the kids stumbled across this, somebody comes in the future, or you happen to come across in the future, want to be able to look back and say, damn, I called it. You see what I'm saying? I called it, y'all. So is there anything specific? Man, it might be a few things. Is there anything specific in the next 1 to 5 years that you see yourself doing?
I mean, pretty much probably buy some more properties and stuff like that. The restaurant, it's there. I don't really focus on like trying to open up more locations and stuff. It's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of work. Like more than just, I make plates. Like I just make a plate and then
it's over.
Yeah, and I post it on Instagram and then
no, that ain't it.
You know, but it's a whole mechanic behind it with building it, staffing, everything. So like I said, it's probably real estate. Like I want to look into like more real estate like out of the country and building more.
Now this is a personal question. How did your first entrance to real estate? Because you said you did it prior to being 30. Was your credit already? Were you already knowledgeable about having decent credit? Did your parents show you about decent credit? What was that? And I'm asking that because me and you both know 20-year-old black kids, especially male. First of all, most households it's not being taught most. So I'm not saying that if it wasn't your household, that's why I'm bigging it up, because that was the very biggest start right there. And that's the part where I'm going to lead to, making sure that other people start doing that. But if it wasn't, what was the avenue that led you to saying, yo, real estate, because if I own property, I can do this, that. Like, what was even that mentality? Because most people at 20-something do not think about that. We are happy to get an apartment.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought about it and everything, because when I was younger, my parents used to have houses and stuff.
Okay.
So we used to go there and we go help them paint. But I didn't really take it serious when I was younger. I got another friend. We used to go together to paint the houses, do stuff. We talked about how we used to like look back now, like damn, yo, we
came
still
up.
Had the properties. They got rid of all the properties. And I'd be thinking like, yo, I wish I still had it. Wish I still had those. So I always thought about it. And then when I got older, started thinking about buying property.
Well, how did you buy your first one? Real quick, because we got 3 minutes. How did you buy your first? Like, what was your credit was already established?
We pretty much went for the first one. We got like an equity loan and everything. Took an equity loan, and we didn't buy no fucking boat or nothing like that. Like, everybody else go buy boats and stupid shit. Bought like 3 houses, I think it was, or some crap like that.
Until y'all rented them out, flipped them, or what was the?
Rented them out.
Okay.
I don't really do no flips. Flips is
got you.
buying whole monopoly.
Got you. Absolutely. So to wrap it up, last 2-3 minutes, what I would like for you to do is, really brief summary of how giving some information for impactful for young up and coming entrepreneurs or older hustlepreneurs that are missing just a little gem. Just give them a little gem or something that you be like, yo, if you don't take nothing else from what I gave, this is what I want to give.
So pretty much like stay focused and stay away from vices. Vices fuck a lot of people up. That's what I tell people all the time. Like it's like, oh, the lights go off. A lot of times you see places closed because the owner got a vice.
Strong.
Cheating, fucking
right.
gambling,
strong,
stuff like that.
Strong.
Like I stay with vices like drinking,
strong,
and stuff like that.
We're gonna get you another shot though.
Yeah. I can control myself.
No, I got you. But I know what you mean. That's strong.
Yeah.
I've never really heard anybody actually give that advice, and that's probably the strongest advice I've ever heard, because for sure, 90% of the people who have went down that spiral went down based on something taking them over. Not that the business wouldn't have sustained if they wouldn't have done what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
The other things that they were doing overshadowed that. That was strong, bro.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
That's it.
Appreciate you coming through. I appreciate y'all having us here. Mr. 3 Crab, whenever you are in Charlotte or Gastonia, where's the other location at? Rock Hill. Okay, so wherever you're in Charlotte or Gastonia, you need you some good crabs, some shrimp, some seafood boil. You need to pull up. Tell them I sent you.
And also,
Yeah, you said don't elaborate. I got you.
all right.
You gotta count down. Are you ready?
Yep, you ready.
Okay. So we're here with the co-owner of RRB Investment Group and Mr. 3's Crab Pot.
Yes.
Want you to introduce yourself your name, give us a little bit of the background of like where you're from,
Okay.
and where you lived, and then I'll go from there.
Okay. I'm Renisha. I grew up in Charlotte, pretty much down from Charlotte. I went to school and everything here.
Right, Hardin Rams.
Harding.
Okay, so we go. I want to throw that in there now. We go way back. I ain't gonna tell our ages, you know what I mean? But we go way back. You know, now definitely we go way back from super cell phones and internets and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So definitely, one thing I definitely want to do is I've been watching you grind since you've been grinding. I've been saluting it since you've been doing it.
Right.
I'm in awe. I learn, I watch. When I see what y'all do, I'm like, oh, that's another thing I'm putting in my brain. So, you know, the inspiration that both of y'all put together is extremely dope. That's why when we came up with this idea, I was like, oh, I got a few people, whether we run into people on the way,
Exactly.
I got a few people I definitely got to talk to. I got to ask, got to pick their brain because, I mean, at the age group that we're at, the things that you guys are doing is astonishing. You would have to think, most of us think that kind of thing happens 50, 60, or it was inherited, or, you know, and not to say there's anything wrong with either one of those, but there's a way to do it before. So, and y'all keep on walking that, y'all keep walking that line. So, we got your name. You say you're from the city of Charlotte. Never left the city, huh?
Not as well. West side.
So let me ask you this: with that being said, what was your mentality early on, teenager? And give me a little bit of the background. Did you come from a working background? Did you have to? Was a lot of stuff given? Was it easier? Was it middle class? Was it, you know, where was that at?
Well, a lot of stuff wasn't given. My mom, she worked, but she did start a daycare. So that's kind of how like the foundation started. She had her own business, and my father, he owns a store in Greenville. So I started out as a nurse. I was a nurse for 17 years before we started anything.
Both parents in the house?
No.
No. Okay. And I'm asking these questions for a reason, because a lot of this stuff shapes who we are and who we become.
Exactly.
First thing I'm hearing is two hardworking parents kind of usually leaves that ambition for you to get up and say, hey, I'm gonna go work somewhere.
Exactly.
Again, so that's why I even brought that up again. Same thing I was speaking with your husband. My mentality was totally different as a kid. My mentality was never to work, like never, even though my mom was a hard worker.
Yeah.
Even my dad worked. But I never wanted to work. I just never liked working. Mind you, I would go to work so I wouldn't be broke.
Exactly.
I go find something for 3-4 months and figure it out until I can go make sure I can do it on my own. But I never had that, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to work. I think maybe in high school, my ambition was coach or something like that, just not a job. And then before getting kicked out of college, I think my ambition was, I think I was there for mass communication, which meant I wanted to talk to people for sure.
Exactly.
But I never really could figure out working. Did you, when you left high school, was your mentality, because you worked in high school, right?
I did.
You did, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember in between you leaving school. I remember you being grown. You was super grown, yeah. You and which mentality-wise too. So what I do remember for sure was thinking like, damn, how old is she? Yeah, how old is Renisha? Because like, damn, she like way more mature than all of us.
Apartment, going to high school.
A car, job, apartment, which instilled, like one thing that we're showing people is a lot of this stuff starts early too.
Exactly.
You know, the same way my mentality was never to work, your mentality was like, yo, I'm already straight, champ. You feel me? Like, there ain't nothing, nobody can pull up on me. I'm here, I'm laid out. And people was already showing that to you to say, yo, this is what it is. I'm laid out. Was that instilled based on product of your environment, or was that instilled based on mom and dad?
Based on probably my hard head. At least I wanted my own thing. I wanted to do my own thing. I wasn't planning on being an entrepreneur though. I was planning on working my nursing job, but I did have a plan to retire at 40. That was my goal. I at least want to work part-time when I turn 40. So
how did you set that goal? Like, what did you do to say at 40 I should be good? Or did that just a number that you threw up?
That was enough, because I was seeing all the older people at work. They were struggling trying to lift these heavy patients.
Man.
Like dads, I was like, I don't want to do this at 20 and 50 years old. I was seeing they back. All of them was going to like chiropractors and stuff. So I was like, I just don't want to do this. So I was working though like 90 hours a week. They used to people, I was making like 100 at 20. That was a lot back then. My base pay was $15.
90 hours a week, you ain't do nothing else.
Like 90 hours, but I was still going out every night.
That was all you was doing. You wasn't sleeping or eating or nothing. You was just straight working.
I'm in the house by 2, then I'm going back to work. Every day I probably work like 12, 16 hours. I blew a lot of the money, but
so you never went back to the house once you got out?
Once I got never. Never.
Kudos to that. Kudos.
Yeah, never.
One thing you said that was super important was working to a certain age. And one of the things I was mentioning with your husband was, for me, was for freedom. I did what I did for freedom, not necessarily to be the richest person in the world, but to be able to do what I want on my own terms. I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs based on you can only be so old in your field.
Exactly.
Speaking to him about this, let's go with barbers. Who goes to the 75-year-old barber? Who is your stylist 65?
No.
Okay. We normally stop, and the 65-year-old been doing it longer than the 20-year-old.
Exactly.
We stop going because, oh, baby, you a little outdated, or you ain't got it. Whatever, for whatever reason, we start to say, oh, we don't no longer trust the aged entrepreneur.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We look for the younger on almost every single, unless you just strap for cash and you really got an OG that just pushing you in there. For the most part, as an entrepreneur thing, people are gonna look for the newest thing.
Exactly.
So when you say you never went back to work, or excuse me, you wanted to work till 40 based on the age thing. What was it about 40, before I go to my thing? What was it about the age 40? Because I know some of the women a little bit older than 40 that was there.
Yeah,
so, but was it 40 where you just felt, okay, at that point, freedom, kids, life, was that what you thought at that, or is that?
I thought that it would just get hard. I was seeing like all the changes, like we went from paper charting to computer charting, and they couldn't keep up. So like a lot of the younger people was like actually having to take on our jobs and theirs too. I'm like, what are they gonna come out with by the time, I get older? Am I gonna be able to keep up with this technology?
And that's so strong. That's strong, because my grandmother was a nurse and she was fizzled out the business as well, because if you do not grow, you die. In every aspect of life. I mean, that's from nature to any aspect of life. You don't grow, you die. What age was it that you felt working solely for somebody else was not going to happen for Nisha no more?
That was like 34.
34.
And when I started hating going to work, I love my job. I love my patients. I used to go with joy. They call me anytime I would come in. I started hating it. So I think that was like my push to get out. 'Cause I'm like, I ain't even doing these patients right.
What built up the hate? Do you think it was just over time? Was it not family change? What changed? So give me what was it? A family that changed? Was it just you just got fed up? Because we talking about now working from 16 to 34. That's 18-year run. So that's most. If you were in the service, you'd be retired.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So was it just wear and tear based on that?
The stress in it was changing it. Then we had to work like 12-hour shifts. I didn't want to do 12-hour shifts. I had little kids. All of my kids are, like boom, boom, boom. So I had really little kids. I was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work. It was spooky outside,
How did y'all manage that, man? Because it seems, here's one thing that for sure in my household, we had to come to the agreement, right? My lady come from corporate.
Yeah.
It was a long, hard pushing battle of explaining to her, we can't be corporate forever.
Exactly.
I don't care. And where was the deal breaker for me? I had to listen to what her reason was. So I said, well, tell me what the life goals are. Her goals was to say, okay, well, the top of my thing, I look to be the assistant VP.
Exactly.
I said, hold on, we're gonna do this for another 20 years just to be the assistant when we can stop now and be the fucking CEO? How did this make sense? I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. It was a lot of fear. There was a lot of education of not knowing what's going on. A lot of thinking that people above you work harder than you.
Exactly.
Oh no! I'm like, yo, do you think your boss is chilling, or do you think he's in Bahamas?
Exactly.
Where you think he at? Now, mind you, that's a corporate gig. I'm not saying entrepreneurs just do whatever they want, but entrepreneurs have a lot more freedom. Anybody following you guys, it being off. They love their vacation. I love it. I mean, I'm saying this to big y'all up. Like great vacations, great trips. There's no, y'all blew everything black on. Y'all go with your families. Y'all do it the way y'all want to do it.
Exactly.
This for me was more about as you said, okay, you just wore out. I'm trying to figure out how did y'all do these two things? Because when she was doing corporate, that's 8 hours a week, and then she had to travel, this, that, and the third. I'm all around natural born entrepreneur and hustler. That means at any given time, I'm any given place. To building the family part was like, yo, who gonna watch the kids? You know what I'm saying? So what was the conversation like between y'all two? And then how did y'all execute that? Whether it was with help, family, what? What was the conversation and what executed?
I mean, we had my mom and stuff, but we did it. I was getting off at 3, rushing home. He was going to work at 4 in the morning. And then we was both getting off. Sometimes we had rental properties. Like we didn't have anybody. We didn't have enough money at that time to pay people like contractors now to go do work. So we laying tile. It look a mess now. When we go back, it look like it's all crooked. But we both laying tile. We both painting. Like we did all of our houses ourselves. Installation. Me and you two. We learned how to
This is during work.
Doing work. We would get off. We would both get off work. He would get off about 3. I would be off. We would go do whatever we got to do. I would turn around, go back to work at 7 p.m., get off at 3.
Super duper hustlepreneur. And I love it because whenever I think about the stories, well, I've done a gazillion things at once, and I'm like, oh, okay, other people doing gazillion things. This is what it is, because if I'm working, I'm coming home to do this, and I'm watching the kids, and I'm making sure that they good. So now I'm instilling this into this next generation, because what they say is, if the grandfather was rich and he gave it to the son, the grandkids will suffer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
He's gonna mess up the money because the son didn't never earn anything.
Exactly.
The son was given it to him. So now what the son is trying to do is do the same thing until it runs out, and the grandkids now have to start this whole pattern all over for their kids because they didn't learn anything. So the fact that y'all showing those kids how to do it, whether they want to do it or not, that's not to say that they can't work. That's not to say that they can't do whatever. But we know that it's instilled in my brain. That is one of the things where the mission is for me to make sure that parents, that's why I said this is for young and old, because parents have to do the job now, the new parents, the 40-year-old parents, the 44, 5-year-old parents who are right on that cusp of not being too outdated. But, you know, because when you're the 50 and 60, like our moms and stuff like that, it's outdated. Whatever it doesn't matter what's going on, they're going to tell you that ain't it. We have to be on the cusp of saying, all right, at 40, we knew what happened 20 years ago. I mean, shit has changed. But now, listen, because it's changed, you know, in my household, I don't knock it, but I don't recommend college either. It's not like I'm saying pushing you to go. If you decide you want to go, all good. If you decide you don't want to go,
you ain't about to go to college.
You're not going to
no English class.
That was instilled in me, because I remember not wanting to go to college and then have no reason. She was like, my mom was like, oh no, take your ass or come up with something understandable. So I didn't have nothing understandable and I didn't want to work. So I took my ass to college. You know what I'm saying?
Go to college.
So you said that y'all pretty much figured out how you had to do. You worked out a schedule. Said, all right, you're gonna go to 3. You're gonna get up at 4. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And that was long hours. Did you think that you could have still done that, or was it? Better off. Was it both of the things that wore you out quicker, as far as working for a job?
I think it did.
Do you think you would have been still working a job had you not ever tried to dabble into the real estate and other things?
Yeah.
You would have still.
Still working a job.
What was the mentality of being an entrepreneur? And I know besides just being tired of working, but what was the thought process of saying, all right, now I'm gonna just work for myself? Like, was it just?
I think I was tired and I want to be home with my kids, because like the oldest one, he was 19. I was 19 when I had him. I worked a lot. So, you know, even though, you know, I had him all the time, at the same time I was gone all the time. When the younger ones came, you know, we was a little bit older then. I'm like, I need to spend time with my kids.
The freedom. The freedom. When did you realize you couldn't just be the entrepreneur, that you also needed to be a hustler? Like, what did that come into play, like as you were going before entrepreneur? Like, what was the moment that both of them synced for you? Like, yo, the only way to do this is to do this. Like, again, multiple properties, multiple restaurants, these things right here mean that I have to think a certain kind of way. When did that click?
I think when the properties, initially when we had the property, my mindset was like, okay, this goes, you know, 2 years from now, I'm not going to even have to work. But it didn't work out like that, because you might have 1 month, 3 people don't pay you. You might have 1 month, the lady had bed bugs, I got to pay $18 for bed bugs. That took all the rent money. You know, so that, it kind of changed my mindset, because I really thought real estate was going to be my way out of work. I'm like, okay, we got these 10 properties, we making $6,000 or $7,000 a month. But before you know it, the money was blown. You know, almost every month something was coming up. Somebody call you every time it's the first of the month or something.
Right.
So that kind of changed my mindset.
So strong right there. The strongest part about that, this now comes back to the entrepreneur part. And this is what I want to harp on, because my whole thing was based on people that I know in my family, or little cousins, brothers, who, or even more people that maybe got more money than me.
Yeah.
They may have car washes, they may have this, that, and the third, but they don't know the business part. What you said was so strong. I got to start making a budget for myself. I have to start making sure that these things are covered before this. I have to make sure I have a nest full of these. A lot of people take pitfalls, like you said. Okay, we're making all the money. Next thing I look up, damn, what happened? The pitfall of the entrepreneurship allow you to reshape and get better because, like I said, being a trend, a human trend, you're gonna hit a rock bottom.
Exactly.
You're gonna jump back up. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? What was in your entrepreneur world or no job involved, one of your rock bottoms? Financially, we don't take into no deep space in life. You know what happened with
probably rental houses. You know, we done got sued before, and even though like we won the cases, but people don't realize sometimes it's like, oh, they sued, they settle out of court. It's cheaper to settle out of court.
Right.
You know, me want to make a point. I'm like, no, we go pay a lawyer. We won, but it drained us for months.
Right.
It was like an ongoing process. So people like, oh, they got all this money, we got all these houses. We had the houses, but we went flipping them.
Right.
So the money was leaving before it was
got there.
We never even really spent that.
And people don't realize
money.
with the ownership, you got a responsibility for it when the roof gets leaked. And
I'm about to say, our houses sometimes wouldn't even fix. Like our personal house wouldn't fix, but I had to make sure my rentals was fine.
Correct.
You know, but before my even personal house was fixed.
So, if you don't mind me asking, what was the suing about?
This guy, not listening to him. See, I'm the hard person. The guy was like, I'm a single parent. Long story short, I let him move in with no money, zero. He was supposed to pay me that Friday. He never paid me nothing. And so we had to go through the process of evicting him. Then he tried to say we threw his stuff out legally, which we all had all the police documents. And it was just a whole big case. And we won. The judge even threw him out. Well, I can't even believe you brought this in. But it went on for months. Because the guy was trying to
drag it.
What the problem? He saw we had all the property, so he was trying to ask for his attorney was like a pro bono, but I had to pay for mine. He tried to ask for like 15, 20,000. I'm like, no, you're not getting it. He didn't get nothing at the end, but it's still
just the dragging,
dragging,
because you got to go to court, downtime,
Exactly.
mentally
It took
not
like
being
6
there.
to 7 months. Yeah.
What did you learn from that, and what would you do differently?
Well, differently now, I try to listen to my husband more because he's more mental and I'm more, hard. So he be like, nah, don't even fool with him, don't move him in. I ain't gonna move him in. Even though they might beg me, like another court case, I had the girl living in a hotel. But sometimes people, when they go through the struggle, they know the court system. So it's like repetitive, they know more than the lawyers and you.
Yep.
So now I just, even if they going through a hard time, I don't do it no more.
Nice.
Even if they had the money in their hands, some people had the money, I don't do it.
What would you tell people one of the biggest or hardest things about owning properties is? And not just rental properties, but commercial properties.
Finding contractors, right contractors. Because now we've been redoing the properties we did, when we first got them years ago. So probably finding good contractors. Because now I want to do it right, so I don't have to have nobody call me, do everything right the first time.
So with some of the properties you guys you've had them from a while, you're saying now that you're going back to redo these houses?
Yeah, we're redoing. When people move out, we've been redoing them. Bring them up every day.
Do you keep people in there? Is there an estimated amount of time? Like, okay, well, we're only going to keep tenants for 6 months or 3 months or doesn't matter?
Whenever they decide to move out, that's when we'll redo it. We just get them. And most of our tenants, like we have some tenants when we first got them 10 years ago, we never even went up on their rent. We just let them stay.
Wow.
New people.
Y'all about to say, y'all sweet for that.
Yeah, no,
boy, nobody paying the same rent for 10 years.
Older, yeah.
I don't care what it is. Ain't nobody paying the same rent for 10 years ago.
We don't go
That's
up.
nice. That's good.
We paying like $600.
And I will say this, blessings come with in certain things. So I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying it's refreshing and surprising to hear in that time frame that people will studio because for sure it's hard to find $600 rent.
Yeah, we still
half of the city would jump on it.
Then I'm
and put it back. No, I get it. And again, that's how you get your blessings.
Yeah.
Where, I asked your husband this, where do you see yourself 5 years, business 5 years, relationship 5 years? And if you don't have an answer for all of them, maybe just for one.
5 years from now, I don't accomplish all my goals, to be honest. I wanted land, I got some land. I might want some more land if I can find it at a good price.
When you get to a period like that, which a lot of us entrepreneurs have got to a point where you is what it is like when you climb to the top, like when Rocky got to the top of the steps.
Exactly.
All he can do is put his hands up. It's like, ain't no more steps. Do you have a problem? How hard is it for you to recreate new goals for yourself?
I used to do it all the time, but now I'm kind of getting tired. I just be wanting to chill sometimes. Because sometimes he's like, we need to stop.
So then let's say this. All right, so we know maybe it may not be any more as far as financial goal.
Yeah.
Personal goals, is there traveling? Is there something with the kids? Is there anything like that you would want to do or accomplish or want to see happen in the next 5 years?
I really don't have plan.
Don't have
to be
okay.
honest. Yeah.
Okay. So I say that to say just my personal smidge on that would be I for one I know how hard it is, but I guess you would have to change the goals.
Yeah.
Meaning, okay, if the goal is not to get no more restaurants, then maybe the goal is, and again, you guys do a lot of traveling.
Exactly,
So your husband said he ain't going to space. Y'all not going to space. Y'all done been there at every other country and island everywhere. So I know he was saying about getting properties out of the country. Is that an even option in your mind?
It might be, but we got properties like in Georgia. It's hard to manage properties when you ain't there. We're trying to sell that one now.
What's the biggest kickback to out of town properties?
Managing it, find somebody to go. Like we're trying to find some HVAC guy to try to go up there to Georgia to fix up.
Do you have personal, or do y'all have just kind of like reach out to people, or is there a management company? Do you put your houses when you rent them out? Like how does that work for people that don't know? How does one manage 15 properties?
I manage them all myself, only because like management companies, they're not really caring about your money. If they got HVAC person, they say it's gonna be $1,800. Like whatever they come out of their pockets, it's gonna be $1,800.
Makes sense.
So no, I manage all my properties. I go to court. Everything.
So you say you manage 18 properties. You're telling me that you travel to 18 properties to check up on these 18 properties?
I don't check up on them. So now I work a little bit smarter, not harder. So most of the time I get Section 8 properties.
Okay.
But I only rent the Section 8 now.
Okay.
So, they do their yearly inspections. So that's it. They yearly inspection.
Oh, so the city comes out for that?
Yeah, they'll come out. Mm-hmm.
Do you keep cameras in your house? Is that
No, you
can't do that? So pretty much once the city come out and says this is what needs to be done for this to be livable, you take care of that and you're done for the year unless they break something.
Yeah, unless they call me, then I don't even go out. I have my HVAC person here, my plumber here. I just call them like go to the house, fix this, I pay them. That's it. They send me pictures, send me the invoice.
So the out of town, the hardest part is just not having that relationship with these side people. Is that the hardest part?
Yeah, not having a relationship, and then it's a condo. So, you really can't, no place to leave a key, it's just it's a headache. Then the HOA fee keeps going up.
Higher and higher.
Yeah.
What was the thought process of going out of town in the first place? Just expansion, or was it just for when you?
We got the property, it was during the recession, so it was like really, really cheap too. Like we just get this property. HOA then was like $100, and it was like $300 and some dollars a month. So it was just, we bought it because it was cheap. They were supposed to be doing the underground. It's literally like right beside the underground. They never redid it, so we go flip it.
I asked that because I was thinking about getting properties out of town, but it was strictly for the use of when I go out of town. Right. Okay. Yeah. So that was what it was for me. It was like, okay, well, and more, not necessarily like Atlanta, but I was thinking more like out of the country. Like, if I was to get a property in Jamaica or Mexico, it would be for me to like, okay, well, I know people traveling places all the time. If it looks good enough, I can let them go, and then when they're not using it, it's paid for. I go there. With that being said, do you think it's triple hard out of the country? Is that one of the things that kind of makes you say, we're going to think on that for a little while?
Well, I only think about when we go out of country, like how many times we want to go to this place in Jamaica? We want to go somewhere different.
Spot.
I learned that just with the other property, like how many times we actually going to go to this property?
That's true.
Because I always want to go somewhere different. That kind of limits you to going that place all the time.
That's true. Very strong, very strong. All right, so we're going to wrap it up with something we need a strong.
Battery change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Already.
Modular. That's what it is. Modular. The modular home, really. That's what it was called. Yep, modular container. So yeah, wrapping it up, man. The Hustlepreneur Network. Definitely want to thank the owners of Mr. Three's Crab and RRB. I keep want to say M for some reason. Realty. For having us here, showing us the area, the ins and outs, giving us some jewels, dropping some game on us. So what we want to do is we want to leave all our shows with somebody dropping a good jewel, a good nugget, something they can give to young and old that your experience, whatever it is you want to, and they ain't learned nothing else from you in life, they got this.
I would just say work hard, just be persistent. Like a lot of times when we first opened a restaurant, people was like, that ain't gonna work. I was kind of even questioning it, but just go ahead and go with your goal. Like we had 0 people the first 2 weeks, 0. But it just picked up all the time. To stick with your goals, regardless what the naysayers say.
Cool. That I'm gonna close up with that because persistency is like it's like the fuel for a hustlepreneur. Because it's tough, man. Every day when you get up and if you ain't made a coin that day, if you ain't did nothing that not only when you are an entrepreneur, are you not making money some days, you're spending money.
Exactly.
You're spending it. So you're getting up, you're praying to God, like, please, God, thank you just for getting me up. What's going on? Tell me something. And again, it's so stressful because you don't know when the breakthrough's gonna come. The persistency is the only thing you got going is saying, yo, I ain't got nothing else. I gotta dig all the way in this. And most of the time, people that become the best and get as successful as because they stopped looking up. They just kept on saying, I'm gonna just keep digging in the dirt, 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 keep digging in the dirt. So persistency, keep digging in that dirt till you get to the other side. Keep being an entrepreneur, keep grinding. We out.